What happens when entitlement meets a man who won't bend? When your no gets graded like it needs approval? When peace in your own backyard turns into somebody else's agenda? I'm Calvin Brewer, out in Fresno, and this is how I drained a pool to drain out a problem. And yeah, that happened. It started on a blue Saturday that smelled like sunscreen and fresh-cut grass, the kind of afternoon you save all week for. I'd skimmed the water at sunrise, balanced the chemicals slid into my lounge chair, and let the pump's steady hum quiet the noise in my head. My pool has always been my reset. I work long hours in IT. I'm a husband to Yvonne, dad to Julian, and that water is where I exhale. Then came a knock that wasn't neighborly at all, sharp and confident like it already had permission. I opened the side door, and there stood Patricia Kincaid, bun so tight it looked painful. Floral blouse, pressed slacks. The clipboard you only carry if you plan to win something. Calvin, we need to talk about your pool. My pool. She stepped in one polished shoe like the threshold was a formality. We're hosting a neighborhood summer kickoff, food music families, and naturally, it'll be at your place. Not hosting just the pool. You won't have to lift a finger. I laughed once quick, looking for the joke that never came. Patricia. This is my family's space. Liability mess, strangers wandering through our kitchen because they can't find the bathroom. No. Her smile thinned, the kind people use when they're trying on patience that isn't their size. Don't be difficult, Calvin. The board thinks this sets the right tone for summer. My answer's no. We'll see about that. Clipboard turns, heels click, and my Saturday is suddenly louder than the kids playing down the block. I told myself she'd let it go. People cool off, plans change. But the next day, my doorbell rang, and there she was again, with her husband Leonard, a step behind. Eyes fixed anywhere but mine. Marcus, she started, then caught herself. Calvin. This isn't optional. It's a community function. The HOA needs cooperation from all members. Your pool is the only one that fits. With respect, I said, no one is holding a party in my home. We'll handle everything, she pressed. Set up, clean up, music, food. Think about the neighborhood spirit. You don't want to be the one dragging everyone down. Dragging everyone down. I pay my dues. I wave. I share tools. I shovel a neighbor's driveway when it hails in March. But because I won't hand over my backyard, I'm the problem. Patricia, the bylaws don't give you the right to commandeer private property. No final. She blinked like the door had never stayed shut on her before, squared the clipboard like a shield, and left me with a promise. This isn't over. A week later, the procession arrived. Patricia with Brenda Malloy, Thomas Reed in his union cap, and Linda Suarez trying not to make eye contact. Marcus, she called out like she was opening a town meeting. We need to resolve this nonsense with your pool. Thomas cleared his throat. Patricia says the board voted, and you'd agreed once she explained it better. Explained it better. I told him flat. I said no more than once. Linda winced. I thought it was decided. I even volunteered to bring drinks. Patricia pounced. See, people are contributing. It's just one afternoon. Why be stubborn? Julian drifted over with a football under his arm, caught a piece of her tone, and asked what was going on. Your father is being unreasonable, she said. Imagine the fun you and your friends could have right here. Julian didn't blink. It's not my decision, and I don't want a bunch of strangers in our pool. I put a hand on his shoulder, sent him inside, and said the thing that needed saying out loud. I clean this pool. I pay the bill. I fix what breaks. It's not a public park, not a clubhouse. It's mine, and I'm not giving you access. Silence. Brenda remembered a roast. Thomas nodded like a man who'd seen enough job sites to recognize a boundary, and Linda slipped away with a half apology. Patricia's cheeks went pink. You think you've won? You don't know who you're dealing with. It's a pool, not a battlefield, I said. For you, it's principle, she snapped. And I always win on principle. She tried to turn my lawn into a stage. A few days later, called it a neighborhood discussion, read off unity and cooperation, like scripture. I told her to take the performance off my property. Yvonne folded her arms and called it what it was, harassment. And the crowd thinned because manipulation sounds different when witnesses hear both sides. That night at the kitchen table, I turned an ice cube with my finger and stared at nothing. Yvonne said, if you give an inch, the inches never end. And she was right. My sister Marcia called from across town and said, take away the audience, and these people shrink. Document everything. Don't let a title scare you. That's when the idea arrived, simple and stubborn. If the battleground is the pool, remove the battleground. I woke before dawn, ran the hose to the storm drain, and flipped the pump. A soft hum, a steady stream, and blue dropped to turquoise to a pale line lapping at plaster. By noon, the shallow end gleamed white in the sun. By evening, leaves lay like confetti on the bottom. Julian filmed a few seconds, shook his head, and grinned she's going to lose it. Right on cue, Patricia appeared at the gate. What on earth are you doing? Draining it. Are you insane? Do you know how much water that is? You can't just... Yes, I can. My pool, my bill, my choice. You wanted a fight over a pool. I took the pool off the table. You're wasting resources. She stabbed a finger toward the deep end. What kind of example is this? People will think I stood up for myself, Patricia. They'll think I didn't let someone bully me with a clipboard. If they don't like it, they'll survive. Mark my words, she said, you'll regret this, and stalked off while I coiled the hose like a period at the end of a sentence. The orange envelope showed up next, a formal-looking notice for uncooperative behavior and failure to comply with community participation standards. Not a real clause, not in any copy of the bylaws I'd read front to back the day we moved in. That evening, she came back with Leonard as a prop. You brought this on yourself, she hissed. You embarrassed me. You defied the board. You wasted water to prove a point. You crossed a line. Which line, I asked? The one where I refused to be your unpaid event venue. Then we'll see how smug you are explaining this to the police. Call them, I said. And meant it. 2 cruisers rolled up at dusk, lights painting the living room tires soft on the curb. Officer Mendez, tall, steady, and Officer Hollowell, sharp, calm, asked to talk. Before I could answer, Patricia materialized from across the street like a stage cue. That's him. He drained the pool to spite me and threatened me. Mendez held up a hand without looking at her. We'll talk to you in a moment. We walked the side yard. The white bowl glowed under the porch light. Yes, I said my property, my decision, and no, I didn't threaten her. Yvonne stepped out and backed me up. Hollowell took notes. Mendez nodded. Draining your own pool isn't a crime, sir, unless she can prove a threat. This is civil. Document everything. Patricia tried one more time to narrate me into a villain. Mendez asked her to step back, and you could feel the air change. When the uniforms don't buy the story, the audience stops clapping. The morning after, blinds twitched and then opened. Brenda gave a small wave. Thomas lifted his chin. Linda offered a careful smile, like she wished she'd trusted her gut earlier. My sister swung by with coffee and told me bullies love a microphone. You took it away. That night, we sat on the patio, just us and the crickets, and Julian sketched a fire pit where the shallow end used to be a hoop near the fence, a projector screen for movie nights. Maybe we don't rush to refill it, Yvonne said. Maybe we make this space ours in a new way. I looked at that dry plaster and felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Quiet, that didn't need defending. A week later, the board sent another envelope. Polite language, careful tone. Patricia Kincaid will no longer represent the community in organizing activities. Translation: the crown is off the clipboard, lost its echo. I didn't gloat. I watered the hedges, and Thomas wandered over to say, "You were right," she twisted. "Things won't happen again." Took guts to stand up. People think boundaries are walls. Really, they're doors with the knob on your side. They tell folks where you stand, and if somebody keeps trying to walk through the wrong door, eventually they show you who they are. So here's the twist under the twist. Draining the pool cost time and money, sure, but it gave me back the thing I was paying for in the first place. Peace. And it taught me something I should have learned earlier. Saying no isn't cruelty, it's clarity, and you don't owe anyone your space just because they dress their want in the word community. Some will call that petty. Maybe you would have handled it softer, but when a nice tone turns into a crowbar on your front door, you either fold or you fasten the latch. You know what I mean. The neighborhood moved on in its human, messy way. Fewer people stopped to listen when Patricia made her circles the summer kickoff, found a cul-de-sac with sprinklers, and rented coolers, like it should have from the start. And our backyard. Well, our backyard became ours again. Was I protecting my peace or being extra? Would you have handed over your pool or pulled the plug? If you've lived through an HOA story, drop it. The good, the bad, the clipboard. If you've watched a title get used like a hammer, tell us how you handled it. Hit subscribe. If real stories told plain are your thing, then jump in the comments and argue it out. What's cooperation? What's coercion? Where's the line? Who gets to draw it? Because sometimes the strongest word you'll ever say is no. And sometimes you have to say it loud enough that the whole block hears it.